everybody. Today we're going to get started with a quick, simple stretching routine. It's pretty easy. It's good for your kicking flexibility. With that being said, a couple tips. One, you want to make sure you're warmed up. We're going to do a quick warm-up together right now. Feel free to skip forward past that if you already maybe just took class or for some reason you feel like you're really loose and ready to go. Okay. Second thing, dress loose clothing, right? Something you can move in. Right? A lot of people I find take off their belts when they do these stretches in class because your belt kind of constricts some of your movement potentially. And one last thing, when we're doing our stretching, we want to make sure we feel it in the right part in our body. So we're just going to reference in your arm for a second. So if I was stretching my bicep muscle up here, I wouldn't try and feel the stretch here into my elbow, right? And I wouldn't want to feel it up here at the attachment site by my shoulder. I want to feel it kind of in the middle of the muscle, the belly of the muscle. So that's really important as we're doing stretching, that we feel it in the center of a muscle, not where it connects to a joint, because if we're feeling it there, it means we're hurting ourselves. So with that being said, we're going to get started with a quick warm-up, and then we'll get into our stretches from there. All right, so we're going to get started with our warm-up. Again, if you're already warmed up, feel free to skip this. We're starting easy. We're just bringing up one knee, then the other knee. All right, we're going for about 30 seconds. All right. Start to breathe, get moving, right? The idea of your warm-up is just to literally warm up those muscles, right? Get the blood flowing, right? If you need to do longer, feel free to do longer, right? If you're already warmed up, like I said before, feel free to skip this and get to the next part, the actual stretching part of the video. But warming up is super important. You don't want to hurt yourself while you're stretching while you're cold. Okay, next one, we're going to bring our feet back like we're kicking ourselves in the behind, right? Activate those hamstrings. Right? You can do kind of whatever you like to do with your arms. Right? Sometimes I like to shake mine out and keep them up. It doesn't really matter. They're kind of useless right now because this is mostly a lower body warm-up. Again, it's just like you're kicking yourself in the behind. One foot, then the other foot. One foot, then the other foot. Okay. Next one, we're going to be doing a little bit of side to side. So just shuffle to a side, right? If you don't have enough room in your house and you need to turn, that's fine. You can cover some more ground, cover less ground. It don't matter, right? You're just moving your legs in and out, in and out. A good indicator for you if the warm-up is a good warm-up is you start to have like a little bit of effect on your breathing, right? If you're like, oh, I'm breathing heavy, that's a good warm-up. Or at least a sign that it's a good warm-up. Okay, next up we're going to do some tap downs, right? So from here, I'm in my fighting stance. I'm going to reach down, tap, and come up. Go ahead and start right now. I can pretty easily touch my toes from this kind of a position, but I'm not stretching. I'm just moving through that range of motion. So I'm only touching my shin. Some people, touching their knee is good. Other people, top of their shin is good. Whatever is right for you is right. Okay, we're going to just switch your legs. Do the same thing, try and even it out. Come down and come up. Another little pro tip. If you're doing this, it's a good idea to pick something that's like 3 to 6 feet in front of you on the floor to look at the whole time. Right? Because as you're looking down, snapping your head up, looking down, snapping your head up, sometimes that causes some problems, right? So looking at something on the floor in front of you can help, right, to make that easier. Okay, so that's it for our warm-ups. If you need to do more, feel free, but we're going to get to our stretches. All right, so we're going to get started. We're going to sit in a pretty simple straddle stretch just on the floor like this, right, with your feet apart, your legs straight. Get yourself in this position. One of the things we want to check on is that we can just lean forward comfortably in this position. Some people, they lack the flexibility and they feel like they're falling backwards. They have to use their core muscles to kind of crunch forward. If you're having problems with that, come check with an instructor. We'll show you a couple tricks in terms of raising your hips using something like a towel at your house to make this easier. But assuming that you're past that, we're going to get started. Our first stretch, we're going to be reaching with one hand towards our foot. So I'm going to start my timer, and we go. As you're doing this kind of a stretch, it's important to just kind of relax. So taking deep breaths is really helpful. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your nose, out through your mouth. And like I said before, when it comes to this stretch, we want to feel it in the back of our hamstring, not behind our knee, right? But rather gentle pull in the kind of the center of the belly of that muscle. Okay? So just doing this for a couple extra seconds, and then we're going to tweak things. All right, so we're going to sit up. We're going to the next version. We're going to reach with our opposite hand. Right? You're going to feel this a little bit differently. Right? So my right hand, in this case, is behind my back. My left hand is forward. You might be on the opposite arm and leg than me. That's fine. Right? But you're reaching towards the pinky toe. Right? Which I'll be like, oh, I feel that a little bit differently than I did the first one. At least hopefully you did. And again, same concept. Relax and breathe. Relax and breathe. Okay? And then we're going to come out of that, and we're going to just come to the center, right? And we're going to lean forward as best you can, right? Now, when you're here, a good goal is maybe to get your elbows on the floor for most people, right? As a good flexibility goal. You may not be able to do that. You may just get your fingertips on the floor. That's okay. The big thing here is that you're just kind of relaxing forward, right? You're not feeling like you have to use your stomach muscles to pull yourself down. If you're feeling that, like I said, talk to an instructor, and we'll make sure we work through that challenge with you a little bit. Do this for a couple more seconds. All right, now we're going to the other leg. We're reaching with the near side hand. Right, reach over towards your foot. I'm going to reset my timer, and away we go. Right, now you might feel one leg is a little bit tighter than the other. For me, my left leg is a little bit tighter than my right leg. That's okay, right? There can be all sorts of things that lead to that, right? Treat each leg as an individual, just like you treat yourself as an individual. Don't try and stretch as low as me, per se. The idea is to stretch the right amount for you, right? I could probably go a little bit lower, right? But right now, this feels good, right, for a gentle stretch. Okay, so now we're going to switch to the other hand. So I put the hand that was grabbing my foot behind me, and I reach to try and grab my pinky toe. You can see this one's a little bit tighter for me, a little bit harder, but we just do what we can. Right, you can probably feel this slightly differently in your leg, which is the point, right? We're going through these different angles because when we do our roundhouse kick or a side kick, right, we're going to go through lots of different angles in our kick in terms of our stretch. And any one of those can be the limiting factor that keeps us from kicking high or makes us hurt ourselves. All right, so we're going to come back to center, just like we did before, lean forward, right? Maybe you're getting a little bit lower this time. Maybe you're at the same height. That's fine. Right, just try and relax and come down. Right, a good trick to play with yourself is just move your hands a little bit further away. Okay, and ease up. Okay, so for this next stretch, we're going to be kind of constantly moving, right? You don't have to move at the same speed as me. You might move a little bit slower. You might move a little bit faster. Doesn't really matter. What's important is that you're staying in the stretch and you're trying to find spots where you feel a little bit tight. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with one hand on either side of our leg, and we're going to lean down towards one leg. Then we're going to slowly start walking kind of over towards the other one, right? Nice and slow. This is not a fast movement, right? I'm going pretty slow. I could even go slower if I feel like a spot, like, oh, maybe this spot's a little bit tight for me. Maybe I'll hold it here for a couple extra seconds. But for just demonstration purposes, walk over to the other side. Once I get to that side, I'm just going to come on back. Again, nice and slow. Speed is not your friend, right? And if you find a spot that burns a little bit, you're like, ooh, I got to work on that part of my stretch. Feel free to stay there for an extra couple seconds, right? Like, oh, maybe, oh, that feels good. I want to hold it for a couple extra seconds. That's perfectly fine. And just come down, right? Moving at your own pace. And you might notice as you're doing this, you start to feel like I'm getting a little bit lower in my stretches than I was before. That's kind of the point. Good. I like to end in the center, so try and get yourself back to the center. Once you get there, take a couple deep breaths, just lean forward. Okay, and then ease yourself up, nice and gentle. Okay, only a couple stretches left to go. The next one we're gonna do is our little butterfly stretch. We're gonna bring our feet together, right? Now, as we're doing this stretch, I'm gonna just play with my timer for a second. Right, as we're doing this stretch, we wanna have three things happen all at once. We wanna have our knees reach towards the floor, right? Which for some of you are like, oh, I can't quite get my knees to touch the floor. That's fine. Second, you wanna have your feet close to your body, right? Almost touching your body. Again, you may not be able to do that. And the third one is you wanna try and get your belly to touch your feet. Right, doing all three at the same time is not an easy objective, right? So just do that, right? So you're leaning forward. You may only be able to get your hands on the floor, your elbows on the floor, right? I know for me it's hard to get my body all the way down to the floor right now, but that's okay. I'm gonna just turn so you get a different point of view on this so you just have an idea of what this is supposed to look like. Again, you can see my knees are a little bit wide, right? And I'm leaning forward, maybe trying to get my knees, my elbows on the floor, right? There are a couple different places you might feel this. You might feel this in your lower back, right? That's okay, right? Or you might feel it more on the inner thighs. That's okay too, right? Just get that gentle stretch. Again, this is one of those stretches that I find is surprisingly important for a good roundhouse kick. Some people who struggle with this stretch, they start to throw a roundhouse kick and they're like, I can't kick very high, right? They may be able to do a really good straddle stretch, right? Or even a full split, but when this is wonky, it can mess with your roundhouse kick pretty good. Okay, ease up. Okay, so we're coming up on our last stretch, which is gonna be the half split, but we're gonna do a couple of variations of it. Right, I'll show it to you once from the side in case you haven't seen it, and then I'll do it facing towards you. Right, so the big thing here is that I wanna have my hips between my knees. I don't wanna fall backwards, and I don't wanna fall forwards. It's really easy to lie on the floor like this, but it doesn't do anything. I want to be here, and I'm going to probably do something like put my elbows on the floor. Okay? So go ahead and get yourself in a position. Right? I'm going to face towards you so you can see a couple different things. Right? We get into our stretch, and we start to relax and start to breathe. Now I'm looking up at you because, well, I'm on TV or iPad or whatever I am on. But for the most part, you probably shouldn't be. You should probably just be relaxing forward. Some people like to support their head on their hands. Right? The important thing is you can relax. Now, just like we did before, we were doing a little bit of moving side to side. We're going to do the same thing here. So what I'm going to do is, and you may need to look to see this, but then jump back into the stretch. I'm going to crawl my arms over to one side. Once I get to a good spot, I take a deep breath. I crawl back to the center. I take another deep breath. And I crawl to the other side a little bit. Just seeing those different angles in our stretch. Right? Now, as you do this, it's important to move at your speed, so you might breathe a little bit slower than me or a little bit faster than me. Don't matter, as long as it's pretty slow, right? If you're going like, that's kind of bad, right? So go ahead into one side, right? And again, if you're ahead of me, maybe you're on your third lap already, that's fine, right? Maybe I finished my lap a little bit early, that's fine. We're just going for a period of time. Good. Okay. Right. Now feel free to continue this stretch if you feel like this is good for you and you really want to work on it some more, but we're going to come out of it. The big thing when you come out of it, you want to crawl your body forward and fall on your belly, like I said, not to do earlier, because it takes pressure off of your muscles so you don't tear something. But that's all we're doing for today. Right? Great job on your stretches. Look forward to seeing you in class soon.